Hi guys, welcome to today's video. If you are thinking about studying a psychology degree in the UK, then this video is for you. My name is Tilaksana and I am an assistant psychologist working in the NHS, and in September I'm going to go on to do the DCLIN to train to become a clinical psychologist. I studied psychology at UCL and I graduated in 2022. So the reason why I created this video is because I remember when I was applying to unis, it was a bit daunting because there's so many options out there in terms of the university courses and the university itself. So I just wanted to create a bit of a realistic insight into what doing a psychology degree actually might look like. Something that I, and I'm sure a lot of other people going into a psychology degree kind of thought was that there's going to be a lot of information about mental health conditions and the treatments for them, and understanding a bit about how the whole kind of process works in terms of someone recovering. There is some teaching on that, but it is only a small segment of the whole degree. And instead, what I found was that there was a really strong focus on research methods and statistics. So, understanding how to run experiments or run studies, how to analyze the findings, and also thinking about ethics, like what is ethically appropriate, what ethical challenges might come up from studying a particular population or a particular topic. And then there was also heavy focus on actually writing up the findings in a lab report. So writing out the method, the hypothesis, the conclusions, and what the research might be useful in the future. So that's a key thing to kind of note. And in terms of the approaches that the degree normally covers, I guess this is a positive thing about the degree, that there is so much interesting kind of topics out there in psychology that you can kind of delve into, and usually the degrees are really diverse in terms of giving you the option to have an insight into those different areas. Some examples could be like biological approaches, so understanding how different parts of the brain work and help us kind of think and plan. And then there's cognitive kind of approaches where you might focus on perception and understanding memory a bit better. And then social psychology, understanding how others influence our behaviors and our thinking. And developmental, so thinking about how our thinking and behavior kind of develops over our lifespan. And alongside those approaches, usually I guess this depends on the university itself. A lot of courses do offer optional modules, and of course this depends on the uni and what they have available. But for example, when I did my degree, I chose to do behavioural economics and look into a bit more of neuroscience modules. So they are pretty flexible in terms of UCL specifically at that time. So I guess I would encourage you to have a look online, look at university websites, look at the modules in particular, because usually if you go on the psychology webpage, they should explain what teaching happens each year and what each module looks like. So you can have a look at that, and that really helped me inform whether this degree was something I was interested in, and whether it was right for me. So that's going into a bit of the content itself. Understanding a bit about the academic side of things is also important in terms of what do the exams look like. So my degree was kind of done during the COVID time, so a lot of the exams were online, but generally with psychology degrees there are a lot of essays, so that is something that you need to be aware of. And most unis do offer support in terms of essay writing, and they do give feedback in terms of how to improve or work on your essay. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was careers after your psychology degree. So the key thing that I wanted to note is that just because you've done a psychology degree, it doesn't mean you're a psychologist or a therapist of any kind after you have finished your undergraduate degree. In order to become a psychologist or a therapist, you must undergo additional training. That could look like a master's, and in a lot of cases that is a PhD. So that is something that you do need to be aware of. And on top of the fact that you need to do further education, usually you do need some kind of experience before applying to those kind of courses to help boost your application. And for some courses it is a requirement. So for example, to do the doctorate in clinical psychology, you do need usually a minimum of 1 year's work experience in the mental health field. And similarly with other roles like a psychological well-being practitioner, you do need a bit of experience. I don't think it is the whole year, but you do probably need some kind of experience to help you leverage that application. So I will do a bit more of in-depth videos about careers, but I just wanted to highlight the main fact that you aren't going to be qualified after you do an undergraduate degree, and usually there's a lot of kind of like further education or experience that you need to get before kind of entering that field. And then apart from kind of like the therapy side of things, there's other stuff that you can definitely do. Stuff like organizational psychology, where you might work in businesses to understand how the teams are working, to support with team dynamics and things like that, which you also need to do a master's and a further education for. And then there's also general graduate schemes that you can apply for, which usually are quite flexible on what kind of like graduate they're looking for. Stuff like consultancy, things like HR are things where you can easily move into it, because psychology does teach a lot of transferable skills like writing reports, understanding human behavior, communicating. There are presentations involved when you are doing your degree, so all of these aspects can make you a pretty skilled graduate in a lot of different areas. So just because you've done a psychology degree, it doesn't mean the only option you can go on to is to be a therapist. There's a lot of things out there, and I know some people I've graduated with have went into work in advertising. Some have even completely switched pathways to become an accountant. So just because you've done a particular degree, it doesn't mean that's the only route that you have to go down. And that's just something I wanted to highlight. But I will make future videos in terms of how I got onto the doctorate, and how you can get into other careers like PWP and things like that. So if you have decided that you want to do a psychology degree, I think it's important to think about what unis are you going to apply for, because you do have those limited amount of options. So what I did was I thought about what kind of topics am I interested in, and I also looked onto the Complete University Guide, where it has like the rankings of each uni, and I kind of use that to inform my judgment. And then I would go onto the uni website, see what modules they're doing, and also think about whether you want to do a placement year, because some unis offer additional year where you're on placement, and some unis offer like a year abroad, which both of them I was quite interested in. So I was looking for unis that did that. And then there's also uni open days, which I would highly recommend for you guys to go to for the ones that you really want to apply, because it gives you the chance to actually speak to students who go to the university and also get a feel of the university itself, because sometimes actually going to the physical building and the physical place can also help inform your decision. So those are things to look out for. And also just looking online, seeing if you can connect with anyone who's already on the course, or seeing if there's any videos out there or experiences that people have shared about doing that degree in that university. I know that helps me out for sure. So I think that's also a very important thing to consider. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will be uploading more videos into how I became an assistant psychologist after my degree, and the whole process of applying to the doctorate in clinical psychology. So if you are interested in those kind of videos, please subscribe, and if there's anything in particular that you would like to see, please drop a comment and I will have a look at that. And if you do have any general questions about a psychology degree or things that you want to know a bit more information about, don't hesitate to drop a comment about that as well.